Well, folks, here it is. This is the crash. This is what a depressive episode looks like. So we're going to document this and record it. And I'm just trying to reach out and say some things that I've always been trying to say, and I think are very important things to say. And I think a lot of people don't have enough guts, balls, not enough intelligence, and not enough wisdom and understanding and honesty about issues. And, I want to get into some of this stuff, and I have a lot of things to say. For one, Mel Gibson's full of shit, and for two, because I watched this reel on Mel Gibson and talking to Joe Rogan. I don't know when it came out. I don't know how old it is. I don't know how recent it is, but it's just him talking about the resurrection of Jesus and just all this propaganda. I mean, why is it always people that seem like, the joke was the other day on a meme or something. It was someone in a comment that said, why is all physicists atheists? Is there something they know we don't? So where I stand as an individual myself is I don't believe in the religious fairy tale, and I certainly don't believe in fundamental religion, and I don't even really think there's a historical kernel to it in that aspect. So most people render me as some kind of atheist. But really, I'm a Gnostic Christian, and I follow, occult science and, such as Hermeticism and things like that, look that stuff up. We can get into that and talk about Hermeticism, and talk about, the magic and the mystery of, spirituality and what it, the more in depth, introspective look at spirituality and understanding on a human level, not on some sort of mythical fairy tale. I gotta believe this or I don't. I'm not part of the club level. It's just not. It doesn't ring on any anvil of sense or truth or truism. It doesn't. It's a bunch of sensationalism. It's a bunch of emotional appeasement, and it's nonsense. It's like what is it? Always these Girls Gone Bible or something. Tinsley showed me the buddy of mine. I used to go to school with a long time ago, and Max sends me this reel of 1983 televangelists starting to find the backwards satanic messages. Running the Led Zeppelin record backwards to try to find the satanic messages. And then polling the audience to see, did you hear that? I live with Satan or whatever. It is just a bunch of nonsense. I did post I shared that on a post and made a comment saying it's basically the equivalent of cloud watching. You know what I mean? You're gonna sit around and play records backwards on. It's the equivalent of cloud watching is saying, well, do you see that monkey's arm up that elephant's ass? And then the guy next to you says, yeah, I see that. But when I first looked at it, I thought it was a Siamese twin elephant. I mean, one guy sees a monkey's arm as a the other guy sees it as another elephant trunk or something. I mean, it's what you see, it's what you make of it. You can hear anything you want of that stuff. That is the most insidious, ridiculous crap I've ever seen. And it's like the Stephen Wright joke. It's just like the Stephen Wright joke. 99% of lawyers give the rest a bad name. 99% of Christians give the 1% a bad name. I don't know, it'd be 99%, but I mean, because I have friends that are Christians that are good people, and I actually go to church. You probably wouldn't even believe that if I told you, but I do. I like church. I like the lessons I get. I attend a very small community that, a friend of mine that I used to be best friends with when we were neighbors and as kids. He's a minister and a lawyer. We can make a lot of jokes. We all have a good sense of humor about that. He has this good sense of humor about that. But he's a fantastic minister. He really is. He's a great minister, and he teaches the good lessons out of the Gospels and the Christian message. And it's their and like I told him, I don't worry about doctrinal things. It's not a big deal if I don't carry the same belief system as everyone sitting next to me. It's the fact that we're learning and learning to grow together as human beings and become grow in our spirituality and our relationship with God, so to speak. I mean, whatever you want to accept God as, whether it's a more personalized, personification of the Father, that kind of thing, or if it's more of a, impersonalized, like the Force of Star Wars, or some kind of, more of a, believing in a higher power, or something that's kind of, it's the more of the transcendent God of the Gnostics, or the that kind of thing. I do believe in the divine incarnation. I think human beings, there's a great mystery there, and so the mystery and the myth of the divine incarnation, whatever cultural version you want to take it, there's tons of versions of that mystery and myth, and the Christian one is one of them. The Jesus story is one of them. So all of it's pointing to the same truth in that aspect, that same truism, the same ideas that we are spiritual beings, we are children of we're children of God. We're all we were. There's a mystery there that's so profound and deep that I don't, that's why human beings do what they do, to try to understand it. And mythology has been doing this for, millennia, and being the vehicle for cultures to understand the mystery of life. And so it gets so much more profound and deep. And so you get, this crap, man, with, whatever, Girls Gone Bible and some, whatever, Crayola colored up, blonde bimbos up there telling me how Jesus is the glorious one, or all this hoopla and propagandic crap. That it's just, all it is a bunch of emotional sensationalism, emotional appeasement to the to the evangelistic and religious right, it's so phony. It's so fucking phony. And anybody that buys into that kind of crap is completely you would have to be a very gullible, or just, I mean, you would have to realize that these people are, bullshitting themselves on some level if they're taking this that seriously. No thinking person, no intellect, no intellectual would listen to this crap coming out of Mel Gibson's mouth, or that British actor, whatever his name is a born-again Christian dude that goes around saying, whatever, doing, All these guys. The reel on that I saw not too long ago that said showed this guy trying to say he used to be an atheist. He went to a church to try to argue with all these Christians, but then some lady came up and prayed for him, and then and he started like bouncing like a jumping bean off the chair and everything, and all this crazy stuff happened, and his sores were healed from drug abuse and all this stuff. And it's like, well, even if any of that stuff happened, that's no proof of a God necessarily. I mean, you're going to need more than that for how do we know the woman doesn't have some kind of psychic kinetic power, telekinetic power or something? Maybe it's psychic. I mean, you can attribute that to some kind of divine power, but whatever. But there's no proof when all these propagandic reels and memes and all this stuff that come up. Because I do have a lot of spiritual things and different things about, various things on my Facebook, and because of all the algorithms, well, it all assumes that I'm, so I start getting all this stuff about, Jesus' resurrection, all this other stuff. So I watch some of this stuff, and it's I realize, and I've always realized this, and I think most people that have a stinking brain in their head realize this too, that there's just this dilution of honesty. It's diluted honesty, and it's a whole lot of just emotional appeasing, sensationalism, and cheerleading and doting. It's like, my dad likes watching this old preacher on TV. My pastor Salem. And he's an old preacher. He's passed away now. He's gone, but he still show his TV show, and if you listen to old Pastor Salem, he's a good old, he's a Baptist preacher. And it's just a whole lot of doting on Jesus. It's really the whole thing. I mean, he gives lessons, and, he tries to, there's maybe some takeaway from it that you wouldn't even have to say be religious to get something from it. But it's just a whole lot of doting on your deity. Doting on the demigod. Doting on you're just sitting around doting. And telling me how wonderful he was, and how amazing he was, and he was perfect, and he was, and he didn't sin, and all these things that it's just, it tends to be almost like this obsessive infatuation with this supposed historical person. Mel Gibson's sitting there and saying, he actually mentions, he's like, well, some people say it's just a myth, and he never even existed. And it's like, well, Mel, there's a reason why people say shit like that, because that's no longer a marginal argument. Okay, people like Richard Carrier, there's a whole lot of capable scholars have showed. Earl Doherty with the Jesus Puzzle, did way back many years ago, several decades ago. Very capable scholarship to show you that the Christ myth argument is not just a marginal argument. That there's a legitimate argument there that belongs at the table, and if you can't accept that, and you can't realize that there is, then you're not being honest. First of all, you're not being honest with the facts, and you're not being honest with the probable, reality of it. So yeah, I mean, Mel Gibson sitting there saying, he like a little kid almost that sits there and goes, well, some people say that he never lived, and it was just, but he did. He says, but he did, but he did. Very convinced. I'm glad, hey, you got faith that the man actually lived. You believe. Most people do, even if they're not Christians. They believe there was a historical Jesus Christ, which obviously, Christ is not a last name, it's a title. It means, anointed one. And, so, the way we say this, Jesus is a transliteration of an Aramaic name, Yeshua. Why do we insist on this Greek transliteration, Jesus? It's because all the Gospels came from, Hellenized Jews, which were, Greek-speaking Jews and stuff. And they were very well aware of the Homeric and, the epics of Hesiod and Homer and all that kind of stuff. And Euripides, all that stuff. They were familiar with all these Greek epic works, and the most people that wrote the Bible, I would say almost all of them, that the scribes that wrote down the Gospels, were familiar with these works. They had to be. They had to be familiar with these works, and so they were steeped in Greek culture, and that's why there's a lot of Greek stuff in the Gospels. To the point that even, the Septuagint was created later on. It was a Greek translation of the Old Testament. So I could go on, and this stuff goes down a rabbit hole. But anyway, I'm going to stop this video now. It's 15 minutes. I love you guys. The last video I posted was basically me on a manic episode, having, a manic breakdown. And so I did say some things in that last video I really wanted to say. And I'm not really sorry about, other than the one little faux pas that I did make, that I did apologize to Jim about. And I want to, do an extended apology about that. That was, so I just kind of flipped that out there. And, that was kind of, wasn't cool about his fiance. But I mean, making those assumptions, so that was, not necessary. So I can, I can take criticism. I can, if someone says, hey man, that, I can back up and say, okay, you're right, but in the long run, the rest of it, no, because I don't, because that's just a bunch of nonsense. Maybe I took it a little too seriously. Obviously I kind of, flipped out and had a little bit of, but it's, nonetheless, so it's still my truth. It's still the truth that I believe in, and I still believe that you should, be ashamed of yourself if you think the things about, voting, that you should have to be in the military if you're going to vote when you're 18, but wait till you're 25 because you're a civilian because of brain development. All this nonsense. Which is complete nonsense. Anyway, maybe I got a little harsh and whatever, a little too hard on. My, crack the whip a little too hard. But you need to think about what the fuck you're saying sometimes. You need to think about what the hell you're saying, just like I need to think about what the hell I'm saying, especially when I go off. But so, we all need to think about what the hell we're saying. And if someone shames you and someone says, you need to, that's fucking stupid, well, you might want to think about why they're saying that. You might want to think about that. And so I have to think about these things too. So anyway, love you all. Jesus loves you. And we'll get into this some more on another video. From the Wizard's Den. Deuces.